And if you have a PLE delegation that goes to Washington, D.C., and they tell their counterparts that, hell, our intelligence knows the phone numbers of every single F-16 pilot in Hualien, and they do so in impeccable English, chances are they work for the General Political Department. In other words, they are intelligence officers. They are political warfare officers. It's amazing how many people actually swallow that rhetoric. And next thing you know, it starts appearing in specialized publications like Defense News, where they will not attribute those quotes, but they will say, people in Beijing and the media are laughing. They realize that you don't even have to invade Taiwan because you can buy the island. Well, this plays again into the perceptions overseas that, well, if the Taiwanese are willing to be bought this way, why should we bother trying to defend them? Why should we try to sell them advanced technology or share classified information with them if it's going to be useless? Even worse if they're going to eventually pass on that information or that technology to the Chinese. This is still in the realm of speculation, but if I were in Beijing and I were a puppet master, I would certainly try to do this. Since 2008, despite the détente in the Taiwan Strait under President Ma Ying-jeou, aggressive intelligence collection by the Chinese in Taiwan have actually intensified, as has the buildup in military capabilities. Why is that? If, as President Ma says, we now have an avenue of peace in the Taiwan Strait, why the hell are intelligence collection operations intensifying in Taiwan? Well, there's two reasons for this. The Chinese are still keen on learning as much as possible about Taiwan's C4ISR, about preparedness, about acquisition programs with the Americans. But more and more, I sense as well that they're equally interested in the optics. Even unsuccessful intelligence collection operations in Taiwan, when spies are actually caught in the early phases of recruitment, what happens in Taiwan? It makes the news. Once again, the military is incompetent. It's fully penetrated by the Chinese intelligence apparatus. We can't trust them. When you have incidents at the Italian army base and some rich individuals are allowed to visit a Apache helicopter, this was blown way out of proportion by the media, but it's still part of the narrative that the Taiwanese military or defense establishment cannot be trusted with secrets. So once again, why would the Americans, why would the Japanese share classified information with the Taiwanese when they know full well it's going to be stolen? Well, there's certainly an effort on the part of Chinese intelligence to emphasize that perspective about Taiwan. And in many ways, this is very low cost. You look at the amount of money that Taiwanese sources, business people, and retired members of the armed forces and active members have been paid for collecting information. It's actually very, very small amounts of money, which to me indicates that they are in the early phases of recruitment. Recruitment is always gradual. It's escalatory. You do not recruit a source and say, I want you to get me the plans for Taiwan's PAC-3 architecture. No, you start with small things, and then you get your resources used to breaking the law, to small betrayals, and eventually they will get you the big guns, as it were. Right? What I've been looking into now is, might not the Chinese intelligence apparatus saturating Taiwan with intelligence missions, knowing full well that a bunch of them are going to be caught by Taiwan's counterintelligence. But it's still going to be self-defeating. It's lose-lose for Taiwan, because the more successful CI operations that you have, the more are exposed. The more exposed, the more people think that the island is crawling with Chinese intelligence, and that every single member of the armed forces in Taiwan can be bought at a price, which obviously is not the case. But this plays into perceptions. This plays into the willingness of Taiwan's allies to come to its defense and to assist it if necessary. Moving on, part of that is also self-inflicted wounds by the Taiwanese side. So in this section I will also make recommendations, and there is overlap with what has been said already. First is again the notion of integrity. The media, legislators, politicians in Taiwan and the general public love to hate the armed forces, which is rather unfortunate given the very, very important mission that they play, and the fact that the men and women in the armed forces today are putting their lives on the line defending this place and this way of life. Unfortunately, very little efforts have been made to improve image, reach out to society, and repair that damaged reputation. which again is the reason why when there's an incident like the Apache helicopters late last month, and it made the news for about a week, it is blown out of proportion, and it should not be that way. If the public were convinced that Taiwan is serious about the integrity of their systems and their intelligence, then incidents like the one in Tongan would be regarded as isolated incidents and not part of a trend. This needs to be combated. This needs to be part of future defense strategy as well. How will you engage the public? Your public message, convincing not just the Taiwanese, but convincing the international community that you are taking this problem seriously. I am told by rather senior Americans who came on delegations to Taipei and they raised the issue with the authorities, and they come back and most of them tell me, well, lower ranking officers in the establishment is aware that this is a serious problem, but the man at the top doesn't really seem to get it. And he's not doing what is necessary to address it. When Taiwanese spies are caught and they get a 12-month sentence for selling information to the Chinese, the optics are very, very bad. It sends a signal that Taiwan is not serious about dealing with its spies and dealing with traitors in their midst. Second point, and this has been already touched upon rather eloquently, what is the mission? What is the mission? What is your defense strategy? What are you trying to accomplish? What are you already good at? And what should you be focusing more on? How often do we hear that Taiwan, the Taiwanese military, which is supposedly so bad, actually has the capabilities right now to address limited contingencies in the Taiwan Strait? It has what it needs to prevent decapitation attacks. It has what it needs right now to prevent surgical strikes. What it doesn't have is the means to counter a full-on amphibious invasion. But that's not the new definition of war. What you need now is not just a definition of your strategy. You need a definition of war, what it is that we're trying to accomplish. And I would suggest that greater emphasis on deterrence. Deterrence to a point that promises so much pain to the Chinese that they will think twice about launching an invasion is what you need to focus on right now. And you can certainly do a lot more in that regard. And that would help defeat the notion that all is lost, because now you have a sense of mission. We're actually good at something, and that other something we need to define more clearly, but we can focus on that and try to make it work. Right? So basically the aim again here is war prevention. What is victory for the Taiwanese armed forces in the Taiwan Strait? It's making sure that there is no war in the Taiwan Strait. How do you do that? You promise the Chinese that it's going to hurt as hell if they try it. Not just in terms of body count, but in terms of China's reputation overseas. So now it's grand time that the Taiwan side engage in political warfare overseas as well, countering the image and countering the bad reputation that Taiwan has for the time being. Readiness is something else that needs to be addressed. Way too many young people say, I went through military service for 8 months, 10 months, 2 years, and you know what, I stayed in my office and I played video games. It's not all that bad, but that's a perception that needs to be countered as well. Why are so many young people saying this? Why are so many young people saying, you know what, I fired a whole 6 bullets in my entire training? You need to take pride in your training. And the more pride that you have, the more committed you will be. And you need to work a lot harder on making sure that your reserve forces are properly trained as well. It actually undermines morale if you know that you're going to be training you're not going to be getting the training that you should be getting, and that you're going to be sitting in an office. I mean, people joke about this, but it's actually a very serious matter. How do you counter that as well? How do you implement a national strategy that actually attracts young people and make them realize that you're going to get a good training when you're in young forces? You will commit for a number of years. We need to improve salaries as well. A lot of work, good work has been done in that department. We need more. And you also need to emulate some aspects of the American establishment where I served 5, 10, 15 years in the armed forces. They will look after me. I will get a goddamn good education. And when I'm done serving my country, they will help me reintegrate society, and I will have a good job, and I will continue to serve my country in different ways. You need long-term thinking about what you're going to do with your soldiers as well. It's well beyond just the commitment while you're in the armed forces. These people have families to feed as well. And it is getting increasingly expensive to live in Taiwan and in Taipei. You need the salaries that help you make a family in Taiwan. Image and appeal. For all his ills, and there were quite a few, one thing that President Chen Shui-bian did when he was in office is that he transformed the armed forces from a military that serves a specific political party and that serves and answers to the nation. This is an accomplishment that he has not, in my view, received enough credit for. And I do believe that it would have helped in recruiting individuals. The problem now under President Ma is that a lot of that has been undermined. We have seen the re-emphasizing of the old ROC military that fought wars of resistance against the Japanese in China. I spent a lot of time with the Sunflower Movement last year and social activists in previous years. They couldn't care less. And this is exactly the young individuals that you're trying to recruit to fill the ranks, and you're telling them that we need to take pride in what the ROC forces did fighting the big bad Japanese 70 years ago. Or we need to defend, I'm sorry, but defend the Yarutai Senkaku or defend Taipingdao because they're included in a constitution that was written in 1947 back in China. I mean, you can be all for the constitution and all that, but the young people that you're trying to recruit, this is not their reality. They need a military that appeals to them, that reflects that which they believe needs to be defended. And I would be very, very surprised if a single member of the Sunflower Movement or the young people who supported them, who are definitely willing to take risks to defend their way of life, if they would actually risk their own lives defending Taipingdao. I don't think they would. I don't think you're going to find a single one of those. You need to weave that into your strategy as well to attract young people. Otherwise, your all volunteer force system will fail. You will not have enough bodies to fill the armed forces, regardless of how much great technology that you have. And this is tremendously important. Well, I guess I will have to end here, but you do have the paper, so you can read it in full. Thank you very much.
Very in-depth and very sobering. Thank you so much. 2004年，我在美国 Arizona 州讲，第一次提到北京的大战略就是不战而主东亚 ，Beijing's new grand strategy, dominating East Asia without war. With what? With economy and culture. That's what it said in Arizona, October 24. In 2006, I was quoted during a keynote here in Taiwan. Buying Taiwan is cheaper than attacking Taiwan. That's what Beijing has found. Totally echoing what you said. The PLA generals are students of Sun Tzu. And you know in Sun Tzu chapter 13, the use of spies. 孙子的第13天用剑里面特别有一个死剑，就是派到对面就让他死掉，但是这个效果是非常大的。今年我们第一次看到解放军的军官被我们抓到是一个间谍。那么这个讯息就是刚才 Michael Cole 说的，送给华盛顿说台湾的军事技术不可靠，你送过来将来都被解放军吸收。说这个死剑，他当然不见得会死，效果是非常大的。这种政治作战还不只是解放军，它上面还有国安部，还有主战部。所以这个是他们的大战略中间的一环，还不只是军事而已。我就一直强调，从中国古时候兵法里面得到一个精神，叫强调超军事的手段 ，extra military emphasis that runs through thousands of years of Chinese military history。解放军用的非常纯熟。那么以前在内战的时候，共军对付国民党也是用这套办法，就今天又再来了。因此，我们如果只是把眼睛放在军事的武器上面，我们就错了。我们把眼睛放在西面防御上，我们又错了，因为它从东面来的，如无人之境。因为它进来的方向不只是地理的方向，是层次的方向，它是从军事以外的层次来，完全没有任何的准备。谢谢 Michael Cole, excellent presentation. Our third presenter is Professor Shen. 沈明史教授是我们第3位提报人，他的题目是建构台湾防卫战略思维的探讨。
Chair Dr. Lee, to presenter Captain Yan and Michael, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to join this afternoon conference. I will start my presentation in Chinese and Mandarin, but I prepare some English slide, maybe make you comfortable and easy to catch my point. Now we can conclude that to presenter, we should have a new thinking in Taiwan defense and military strategy. 那我打算用中文呢，就是做我的这个报告啊。那我要准备一些英文的投影片啊，看是不是方便啊，就是能够让使用英文的能够了解我到底在讲些什么。那从前面陈友康副部长，还有刚才前面两位所提的啊，都会提到说，其实台湾在所面临的，不管是叫战略防御或者是战略守势，它已经持续了几十年。那我们从历年的这个国防报告书可以看得出来啊，不管是2008年之前叫有效吓阻防卫固守，或2008之后叫防卫固守有效吓阻，那类似的概念。